Ever wondered what happens when you disappear from someone's life? I'm not talking about pulling back slightly. I mean completely vanishing. No texts, no calls, no contact at all. What would they truly feel when you're gone? In today's world, where people constantly take others for granted, let's flip the script. Disappear, and I promise their world will fall apart. Welcome to the most important video you'll watch today. If you've ever been in a relationship or situation where someone has gotten too comfortable treating you like an option, this video is for you. Today, we're diving into a powerful concept, what they really feel when you vanish from their life. We'll go over 9 intense emotional stages they go through when you disappear. By the end of this video, you'll understand why sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to walk away and never look back. If you're ready to discover your worth and make them miss you like never before, drop a comment below with the words, "I'm done being an option," because after this, you'll never be one again. Stay tuned until the very end. There's a bonus 10th emotional stage you definitely don't want to miss. If you're ready to change how they see you forever, watch this video till the end. Now, let's get started. Number 1, the sting of rejection. This is where it all begins. They never expected you to vanish. Not really. In their mind, you were always going to be there. You were the one who put in the effort, made the plans, and genuinely cared. You were the person they could rely on, until you weren't. When you disappear, it's like hitting them with an unexpected shock they didn't see coming. You've probably heard the saying, "You never know what you have until it's gone." That's exactly what happens when you vanish. Let me make this clear. When you remove yourself from their life, it's not just about the physical absence. It's about pulling away everything you represented. The comfort, the validation, and the constant availability. You take all of that with you. They feel rejected, but this isn't just a surface-level sting. It's deep and personal. For the first time, they realize they don't have control over you. People don't like to admit it, but when they know someone will always be around, they start treating them like a safety net. You become an option, not a priority. When you vanish, you pull that safety net right out from under them, and that's when the panic sets in. It feels like free falling. They thought they could take you for granted, and suddenly they're left wondering, how did I let this happen? How did I lose control? The sting of rejection hits especially hard when you've been emotionally available. They took your love and presence as a given, assuming you'd always be there no matter what they did. Maybe they even believed they were doing you a favor by keeping you around. That's the real irony. They thought they were giving you crumbs, but in reality, you were the one holding the relationship together. Here's what you need to know. If you want them to feel the sting of rejection, don't give them any warning. Don't announce your departure, issue ultimatums, or ask for their attention. Just go. When you disappear without explanation, it hits harder because they never saw it coming. It forces them to reflect on their actions and sends a clear message. You're done being disrespected. When you walk away, don't look back. They'll feel the rejection, and trust me, it's going to hit them in unexpected ways. The person they thought they had control over, who always stuck around, has left the building. Now they must deal with the aftermath. Number 2, the void of missing you. Here's where it gets interesting. After the sting of rejection settles in, they start to feel something else, emptiness. They didn't think they'd miss you, did they? They might have convinced themselves that they wouldn't care if you left. Oh, if they leave, I'll just move on, they thought. But when you actually disappear, they feel the void. And it's not just any void. It's the kind that gnaws at them. They go about their day, doing the same things they always have, but something is missing. That's when they realize you were the one who added meaning to their life. You brought energy, warmth, and emotional stability. Now, without you, everything feels bland. When someone takes you for granted, they assume the dynamic between you is replaceable. But here's the truth. No one else brings what you did to their life. They might try to fill the void with someone new or distract themselves with friends, work, or hobbies, but it's never the same. You brought a unique energy that made their life better. The void only grows with each passing day. They might have thought they could distract themselves, but that emptiness remains, reminding them of what they lost. It's a constant presence, eating away at them, and they never expected to feel this way about you. The irony is that they didn't appreciate you when they had you. They thought they could do better, or that you'd always be around. But the moment you're gone, everything changes. They start missing the little things, the conversations, the laughs, the way you made them feel understood. The small, everyday moments are what they crave the most. But you're not there to provide them anymore. When you disappear, do it in a way that leaves no room for them to find you. Block them on social media, delete their number, and make it impossible for them to casually check up on you. The more they realize they can't access you, the deeper that void becomes. Each time they think of you and try to reach out only to find no trace of you, the emptiness grows. Let them sit in that emptiness. People don't appreciate what they have until it's gone. Let them miss you and feel the absence. The more they feel that void, the more they'll understand what you brought into their life. Number 3, overwhelming curiosity. At this point, they're deep in the void and starting to get desperate. Curiosity kicks in and it becomes overwhelming. The big questions now flood their mind. Where are they? What are they doing? Who are they with? They become obsessed with knowing what's going on in your life because they no longer have access to you. Suddenly, you're a mystery, and nothing is more unsettling than not knowing what's happening with someone who was once so close. In the age of social media, this stage is even more intense. They'll check your Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, every platform, just to get a glimpse of what you're up to. But here's the kicker. You're not giving them anything. You've gone completely dark. No updates, no stories, no posts, and it drives them crazy. Why? Because human beings hate the unknown. The moment you vanish, their mind starts running wild with questions. This is when insecurity sets in. They start wondering if you've moved on. Are they seeing someone else? Are they better off without me? They can't handle not knowing, so they become fixated on finding answers. This is when they might even reach out to mutual friends, trying to get information about you. They'll ask questions, but be too proud to admit they care. It's almost tragic. Someone who thought they didn't need you now going out of their way to figure out what you're doing. The truth is, curiosity is a powerful emotion. When someone can't get the answers they want, their mind fills in the gaps. They'll start imagining you with someone else, happier and more fulfilled without them. That thought eats away at them, day by day, turning curiosity into obsession. And here's the best part. The less they know, the more they want to know. You become the one thing they can't stop thinking about. To fuel their curiosity, become a ghost. Go completely off the grid. Don't post anything that could give them clues about your life. Let them wonder. Let them stew in their own thoughts, trying to piece together what's happening. Every time they pick up their phone to check on you and find nothing, it'll drive them closer to the edge. You hold the power now, and their curiosity is your biggest asset. Don't give them answers. Give them silence. Number 4, deep self-reflection. Now we're entering dangerous territory for them. This is where deep self-reflection begins, and it's not pretty. After days or even weeks of wondering where you are and what you're doing, they finally turn inward. They start asking themselves hard questions. Was I too distant? Was I too cold? Did I push them away? Did I mess this up? The regret starts creeping in, and it's a bitter pill to swallow. Here's the reality. People don't like to admit when they've made mistakes. It's human nature. But when you disappear, you force them to confront those mistakes head-on. Without you there to reassure them or smooth things over, they're left to face their behavior, and it's not a pleasant experience. They start replaying every interaction in their mind, questioning whether they could have done things differently. They remember the times they ignored your texts, brushed off your feelings, and made you feel like an afterthought, and it hits them hard, because deep down, they know they had something good and took it for granted. Now, they're stuck with their own thoughts, and those thoughts are brutal. This stage is powerful because it's internal. They can't blame you anymore. You're not there to argue with or make excuses for them. The only person they can blame is themselves, and that's a tough pill to swallow. As time goes on, the self-reflection deepens. The more they reflect, the more they realize how much they messed up. The guilt builds, and they start wishing they could go back in time and do things differently. But it's too late for that now. During this stage, don't reach out. Don't try to explain why you left or make them see the error of their ways. Let them figure it out on their own. Self-reflection is most powerful when it happens internally. The more time they spend reflecting, the more they'll realize they were the reason things went wrong. Let them sit with that guilt. It's a valuable lesson they need to learn. Number 5, the urge to pursue you. Now that they've spent enough time in self-reflection, something shifts inside them. They go from questioning themselves to wanting you back. The tables have turned. You were once the one who put in all the effort, who cared, who pursued. But now, it's their turn. The urge to pursue you becomes overwhelming. They can't stop thinking about you, can't stop wanting to reach out, and can't stop wondering if it's too late to make things right. They'll start sending those "I've been thinking about you" texts, liking your old Instagram posts, and maybe even leaving a comment just to see if you respond. They might send a late-night message after a few drinks, hoping to rekindle what was lost. Here's the thing. They're the ones chasing now. They've gone from taking you for granted to desperately wanting you back. And this is where you hold all the power. The urge to pursue you is strong, but you don't need to respond. In fact, you shouldn't. Let them feel the desperation and wonder if you've moved on. The more they pursue, the more they realize they've lost control of the situation. They no longer hold the upper hand, and that drives them crazy. When they start chasing, don't give in. The moment you respond, the power shifts back to them. You've worked too hard to reclaim your worth, and now is not the time to give that away. Let them pursue you, but don't reward their efforts. Silence is your strongest tool here. Let them feel the frustration of wanting something they can no longer have. Number 6, the battle between relief and regret. When you first disappear, they might feel a brief sense of relief. It's that initial feeling of freedom. They tell themselves, finally, I don't have to deal with them anymore. And maybe they even feel good about it. But here's the thing about that so-called freedom. It's an illusion. It feels exciting at first, but is superficial and temporary. They go out, hang with friends, and swipe through dating apps, thinking everything's going to be fine. But as soon as they're alone, sitting in their quiet apartment or scrolling through their phone, regret starts creeping in. They begin to realize that freedom without you is actually emptiness. The people they thought could replace you are just surface-level distractions. It's like drinking salt water when you're thirsty. It seems like a solution, but only leaves them more dehydrated and desperate. In today's world of casual dating and quick connections, people often think moving on is as simple as finding someone new. But it's not. They quickly learn that you can't replace someone who gave you emotional stability and a real connection with a quick fix or a meaningless fling. And that realization hits them hard. Let them experience that so-called freedom. Don't rush back in when they start feeling regret. Let them sit in that empty space they thought would feel so liberating. Remember, the relief they initially feel is temporary, but your absence will haunt them in ways they never expected. Number 7. The desire to play the game. Once regret settles in, they panic. Now they want to regain control, but they don't know how. So what do? They try to play games. They act distant on purpose, trying to make you jealous. They post photos with other people or create posts that make it look like they're happy without you. Maybe they share a cryptic status about moving on, or post a selfie that's trying a little too hard. It's all an attempt to reel you back in and make you wonder what they're up to. But here's the thing, you're not playing anymore. You've outgrown the games. You're beyond that childish behavior and don't even notice their petty attempts to provoke a reaction. People think that manipulation through jealousy or playing hard to get will make you chase after them. But what happens when you've stopped chasing? When you're tired of the game? They'll throw everything at you. Subtle digs, passive-aggressive comments, exaggerated social media posts. But none of it works. You're not giving them the attention they crave. You're not engaging in their childish tactics. And that, my friend, is what drives them absolutely mad. When they can no longer get a reaction out of you, they lose control completely. They're left flailing, grasping for something they can no longer manipulate. Don't engage. Ignore the cryptic posts. Don't react to the photos. Their game only works if you play. The moment you stop responding is the moment they realize they've lost their power over you. Number 8. The crushing weight of silence. Silence is one of the most powerful tools you can use when you vanish. The absence of your words, your texts, and your presence speaks louder than anything you could ever say. It leaves them with nothing but their own thoughts. This is where it gets tough for them because silence is so heavy, so unbearable, that they start to question everything. They think back to all the times they ignored your calls, all the times they were too busy to reply to your texts. Now, they would do anything to hear from you. Silence is torturous for someone who's used to having control. They expect you to reach out, to ask what's wrong, to beg for an explanation. But what happens when you don't? What happens when you disappear and they're left sitting in the quiet, wondering if they've lost you for good? They can't comprehend it. Every minute without a word from you feels like a year, and the longer it goes, the more anxious they become. In a world of constant communication, texts, calls, notifications, instant gratification, everyone expects an immediate response. When you don't give them that, they spiral. They're used to the noise of a relationship, the back and forth, even the arguments. But silence? Silence is deafening. Let your silence be your power. Don't break it. Don't explain yourself. Let them feel the weight of their own actions through the absence of your words. They'll soon realize that losing access to you is far worse than any argument you could have had. Number 9. The fear that brings them crawling back. Now here's where it all comes crashing down. Fear. This is the part they never thought would happen, the part where they're actually scared of losing you. For a long time, they were comfortable. They thought you'd always be there, taking your presence for granted, convinced you were the one who'd stick around no matter what. But now, you're gone, and they're terrified. The fear hits harder than anything else. They start to think, what if I've lost them for good? What if they've moved on to someone else? The idea of you being with someone new consumes their mind. They picture you laughing with someone else, making new memories, and the thought makes them sick to their stomach. Pride, ego, and playing it cool no longer matter. All they can think about is getting you back. This fear drives them to do things they swore they'd never do. They'll reach out, apologize, and beg. Maybe they send long messages explaining how they didn't appreciate you before, but now realize how much you meant. Maybe they even show up at your door unannounced, hoping for a second chance. Whatever they do, it's all motivated by one thing: the overwhelming fear that they've lost you forever. But here's the truth. By the time they feel that fear, you're already gone. You've moved on, found your strength, and reclaimed your independence. Their fear is real, but it's too late. When they come crawling back, don't give them a second chance just because they're afraid. Let them face the consequences of their actions. You've moved on, and they need to learn that you're not an option to be taken for granted. Number 10. The realization of emotional independence. This is where everything comes full circle, the realization of your own emotional independence. When you disappear, you're not just walking away from them, you're walking toward your own freedom, emotional clarity, and peace. In many relationships, we get caught up in making the other person happy, trying to prove our worth, and forgetting our own needs. We forget that we have the power to choose, to walk away, and to demand better for ourselves. But once you've vanished and reclaimed your space, you start to see things clearly. You no longer need their validation. You no longer care what they think, how they feel, or what they want. You realize that your happiness isn't tied to them, and that's the most powerful thing you can experience, your emotional independence. And here's the best part. They feel it too. They realize you're not the same person they once knew. You're stronger now, wiser and more confident. They sense that you've outgrown them and no longer need them to feel complete. This is when the tables have turned for good. While they're stuck in the same old patterns, you've evolved. You've broken free from the cycle of validation, and their opinion means nothing now. Own your emotional independence. Don't go back to the old ways. Don't give them the satisfaction of thinking they still have control over your happiness. You've moved beyond that, and that's your biggest win. The lesson. So, what's the lesson here? Stop giving people the chance to take you for granted. Stop being the person who's always there, no matter how badly they treat you. The moment you walk away, the moment you vanish, everything changes. You hold the power now. They'll feel it, they'll regret it, and they'll realize they've lost something irreplaceable. If you're ready to reclaim your power and stop being an option, comment below with the words, "I'm done being an option." You're about to step into the most powerful version of yourself. If this video resonated with you and shifted your mindset, consider joining our channel memberships. It helps us continue creating quality content and making it accessible to more people. And if memberships aren't for you, simply hitting the subscribe button supports the channel and means the world to us. Remember, you're in control now. See you in the next video.